Hello everyone, welcome back to Optimize FPL. Like I've said before in previous videos, this is the Pizza Premier League. I ended up winning it last season. I found it off Reddit, and I thought this season I'd host it. So the winner of the cup or the league win a free pizza from yours truly. Please feel free to enter in the comments down below. Yep, let's get on to the video. Hello everyone, welcome back to Optimize FPL. We're going to be talking about the 5 teams I would definitely avoid for FPL purposes to start the season off. We're going to be starting obviously with Everton here. Their opening fixtures are really difficult. They got Chelsea at home, Liverpool at home. They've got 3 away fixtures to Brentford, Leeds, and Villa. They do have Nottingham Forest at home, which is a good fixture, but it's not only the fact that their fixtures are really poor. They are just a they've been playing so badly, and like they don't really have a lot of good assets. Like, who would you even bring in from Everton if you were to bring someone in? I had a video before where I was ranking all the players based on price points, and the only player that made it in just barely was Gordon at 5.5 million. I wouldn't bring any of their defenders in. Their goalkeeper I wouldn't bring in. There's so much more value in so many other teams. I just think that Everton is definitely one to stick away from. Again, also especially in the forward line, Calvert-Lewin at 8 million. I will say this again and again, is the most overvalued player in the game. He is a terrible pick. In this Everton team, at least as it is, they just look so deflated. Their defense looks really bad. I just would not recommend them at all. Yeah. Moving swiftly along, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, I think, is actually a fantastic team. So Patrick Vieira has definitely done a great job with them. They look much better in their forward line and their defensive line than they have for a couple of seasons. I think they could do very well this season. Potentially push for like a top 13, top 12 finish, kind of similar to what they finished last season. The only reason I'd recommend avoiding them at the beginning of the season is because their opening fixtures are so hard. Arsenal at home start the season off. They have Liverpool away. They have Man City away in the game week 4, and they have Newcastle away. Newcastle is going to be a much harder team this season than they were last season. Aston Villa is not an easy game. Brentford's not an easy game. Man City away and Liverpool away are almost automatic losses, to be honest. And Arsenal will want to start the season off really well, and it's also like Arsenal need to start the season off well just because they started the season off so poorly last season, losing to Brentford, that they're going to want to kick on from what they did last season. So Crystal Palace could be a really, really hard team to do well with this season. They have some great assets, though. Don't get me wrong. Zaha at 7 million could potentially be a really good option. Um, Gahey in the defense at 4.5 million is also a really good option. Guaita in the goalkeeper spot is someone to definitely keep an eye out for. And whoever starts in their forward line could be really, really good because they're only 5.5 million for Mateta and Edward. So whichever one of those two end up starting, they could be great assets for potentially a third forward spot or even potentially a second forward spot that's more of a bench option that you kind of bring in whenever someone isn't playing. So Crystal Palace is definitely one that I'd say is more of a wait and see how they do, because their opening fixtures are just so hard that I would recommend staying away from them to start the season. Up next is one of the newly promoted boys. It's AFC Bournemouth. Bournemouth, they're just not a very good team. I think they ended up coming second last season or first. I can't remember. No, they came second last season in the championship. So, like, they're not a bad team. Don't get me wrong. They have hard opening fixtures. They don't have any really good assets other than maybe like Solanke in their team. Like, I can't even think of any other Bournemouth players that I'd want in FPL terms. They don't have anybody that's really interesting or exciting to me. They didn't sign anybody really new or good. And yeah, let's go through their opening fixtures real quick. Aston Villa, not an easy game. Manchester City away, basically a loss. Arsenal at home, could potentially be a loss, could potentially be a win. It's a kind of 50-50 because it's at home. It could be potentially, like, at home games obviously better, but still probably a loss. Liverpool away, probably a loss. Wolves, not an easy fixture. Then Nottingham Forest, which is maybe more their level. I don't know. I just personally think that Bournemouth are going to have a really hard time this season, so I definitely would stick away from them. Maybe if you want them on like if you have like a 4.5 million player, you can find for them. Like Colback, I think is from AFC Bournemouth. I could be wrong though. He's like a 4.5 million midfielder that could potentially be decent. But other than that, I really wouldn't recommend anyone from Bournemouth to start the season off at least. Into the next team is Fulham, another recently promoted side. I think there's actually some decent assets at Fulham. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think Mitrovic could potentially be really good this season if Fulham start really well. Wilson in the midfield could potentially be good, but at 6 million, there's a lot of better assets. Um, it's just the fact that their fixtures start off so hard that you can't justify bringing Mitrovic in. Like, if you want to bring Mitrovic in, what are you going to do? Bench him for Liverpool, Arsenal, and Spurs? You're not going to. And then he also has Wolves, Brentford, Brighton. Brighton and Wolves are both defensively very, very good teams. So I just don't think that it would make a lot of sense to bring in someone like Mitrovic for one good game against Brentford. It just doesn't make any sense. So definitely, I'd say stick away from Fulham and let them play, see how they play. They could potentially be even a team to target in the near future. Like if they have really good, like if they have really bad fixtures, you want to look at who they're playing and probably try to bring in players that are playing against them because their defense is probably not very good. That's just how I personally like to look at newly promoted teams, see who they're playing, and try to pick teams that are playing them. Last on this list, and a team that I'm really concerned about is Southampton. I personally really like Southampton. I think they're a great team. They're fun to watch. They seem like a good club. They seem like a good organization, but their team just looks really bad this season. They haven't signed enough players to justify staying in the Premier League, and their opening fixtures are one of the worst I've seen. Like that is ridiculous. Spurs away, Leicester away. They got Manchester United at home, Chelsea at home, Wolves at home, and Leeds at home. So Leeds is probably the best out of all those fixtures, obviously, but those are some really difficult fixtures to start the season off, and they don't have any really good FPL assets. Ward-Prowse is a good FPL asset if you're going for a set and forget team, but other than that, his returns are just too sporadic and too erratic for someone to bring in for even a short term period. And there's nobody really else on that team. Maybe Kyle Walker Peters in the right wing back spot could potentially be good, but I just don't think that he's gonna. He's not good enough, and also Southampton's defense is not good enough to justify a 4.5 million player when you get someone like Dallo or Tomiyasu or White from a much better team. So unfortunately, Southampton, like everybody else on this list, is going to be a hard avoid. Unfortunately. So I have an honorable mention here of West Ham United. I'd say that their assets are so good that and they're also just a team that's so good that I wouldn't really say avoid them. I just say that their opening fixtures are so bad that I'm not going to have any of them in my team. Man City at home is such a hard fixture. Aston Villa away is not an easy fixture. Brighton is not an easy fixture. Spurs and then Chelsea away. Like, come on, those are so hard to start the season off. And like for game week one, you're not trying to bring in players against Manchester City. They're just gonna get smoked. Bowen will probably blank. Antonio will probably blank, and then like their defensive options are just not good enough to justify it compared to other players. So that's the next team I'd say, and an honorable mention of team to probably avoid. But if you brought them in, it wouldn't be too bad. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Let me know down below which teams you were going to avoid this season, and yeah, have a good one. Good luck, everybody, and cheers.